evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good whenever you're listening to us. Welcome to another episode of Midnight's Edge After Dark, recorded on this day, February 6th, 2018. I am, of course, your narrator supreme, Mr. Robot Shlomo, coming to you from Shabby Road Studios. I'm joined once again by Mr. Tom Connors.
I am here.
And we got a jam-packed action show full of thrilling drama, suspense, romance.
Ninjas, Jedis, alien fighters, all kinds of shit. Let's get right into it.
It's come to our attention, actually, recently that there is another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot in the works. And this looks likely to be the worst one of them all.
And that says a lot.
That's saying a lot. It's being done by Nickelodeon, who's actually owned by Viacom. It's going to be called Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And you can go to Den of Geek and see the artwork. And this is just god-awful. I would say, obviously, we're not the target audience for this. But this looks like the typical Teen Titans, Ben 10 style of animation, style of artwork. I am at a loss to describe how horrible this is. So, okay. But this feeds into another thing. Okay, I understand you have to update it and modernize it a bit, Yeah. But at the same time, this looks this resembles Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in name only. And this feeds into another thing. I mean, this sort of reminds me of everything that's gone wrong with Man of Steel, is where it pretty much started. Star Trek Discovery, which we always call STD, that disease of the brain.
Even 09 Star Trek.
Even 09 Star Trek. And The Last Jedi and all that stuff, is that there's always this move towards deconstruction or changing things. And it just seems like there's this problem where these reboots and all this stuff, they don't... And I've brought this up with Tom off the air, that there was an episode of King of the Hill where hipsters had moved into Arlen. It was summed up perfectly in this line: they don't know what they want, they only know what they don't want. It seems like all these reboots, reimaginings, revision properties all just have a long list, a laundry list of things that they don't want to be, that they have no clear identity of their own. It's like, oh, just make sure it's not like this. Make sure it's not like that. And like I said, it's the same thing with Star Wars now, and with, like I said, with Man of Steel, with Superman, and
DC Universe.
The DC Universe. They don't know. DC Universe, all it knows is it doesn't want to be Marvel. That's all they know. Star Wars now, it knows it doesn't. The people in charge, they know they don't want it to be like the original. But the thing is, they're ripping off the originals in the process. Or the prequels and just knowing it. STD, they don't want to be the prime timeline. They don't want to be the TOS. They don't want to be the next generation. They don't want to be Voyager, but they don't commit to actually doing anything of their own.
Right. Well, what you're getting to is, in the process of this not wanting to be something, they in the end don't want to be what they are originally, what makes them what they are.
Yeah.
And another prime example of something that you keep bringing up is Bond, and why we say that making Bond a woman wouldn't make any sense, because it kind of defeats the purpose of who the character is. You're stripping away the core elements that character who they are.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the whole thing, there's also a whole idea of, well, if you don't change it, then it hasn't improved. Like, the reason why something hasn't changed in 50 years is because you got it right the first time.
Right, and that's something I always say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to use an example. Volkswagen, they make this pretty much the same car, the Volkswagen Golf, that they've had for the last 45 years. Yeah, okay, it looks a little bit different. There's some cosmetic changes, but underneath, it's still the same VW Golf from 1974. Okay, everything's the same. The engines are pretty much the same. The seat mounts are the same. Everything else is the same. You know why? Because it works. That's why.
Right.
I was always a fan of the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, and there's this whole idea that, oh, well, you guys are just angry, which brings me to my second point. CBR. Now, they've got it coming. They really do.
We know you'd love them.
Yeah, I'm gonna bitch them out for a moment here. There was an article 2 days ago. I shouldn't even call it an article, because article connotates that it has some news value with it, some newsworthiness to it.
It's a opinion piece.
It's an opinion piece, a think piece, and they've written plenty of these regarding STD and The Last Jedi over the past few weeks. A fellow by the name of Mike Fugere wrote a think piece. Dear angry TMNT fans, it may be time to let go. Now, he's saying about how you have to pass the torch. Now, go read it. I mean, and, just to sum up, he's saying it's time to pass the torch. You can't keep hanging on to the past. And actually, he does bring up a bit about Star Wars, about Rian Johnson, and about how fans claiming that that Rian Johnson has ruined Star Wars forever. He hasn't ruined it forever. He's only ruined it until somebody else takes hold of it that knows what they're doing. That's what I say.
Right.
But the whole idea of this is, listen, we understand things have to change. Like I said, you got to modernize. But when you get so far away from what it is, what the core elements are, then it becomes something else completely different. Don't call this Ninja Turtles. Now, I've rambled enough. Now, Tom, you're a bigger fan of TMNT than I am. I relinquish the floor to you.
Well, let me first say that...
let me just say though that just in knowing CBR always gets a boner whenever Miles Morales comes up. Okay, they get
something like that. Yeah.
They're like, and they go out of their way to talk about diversity and they and whatever. We have nothing. Don't have a problem with diversity or anything. We just have a problem with making things utterly stupid.
They really like to swing that spin to the point of, oh, if you don't like this, then you must be a racist kind of thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the moral grandstanding, as I call it.
Let me start off with this. I've been a Ninja Turtle fan since I can remember, and the initial versions of the Ninja Turtles that I fell in love with were quite a bit different than what they originally were. Now, of course, I went and learned who they were, and the 1990 film to this point is the closest that we've gotten, pretty much other than, say, the 2003 series, to what the original tone and intention of the Turtles were by the creators. Now, this has nothing to do with April O'Neil, so just let's get that out of the way first of all. She was never really white to begin with. That has been recorded several times. Yeah. That was changed when it came to the toys and the cartoon. Let's get all that aside. Now, going back to, yes, you got to update this stuff once in a while, and there's always going to be a new set of fans, especially for something like Ninja Turtles, because they're so accessible to kids. They're very accessible to kids. Now, I had no real issues with the Nickelodeon series that came prior to this. I'd seen a few episodes. I was like, all right, this isn't for me. I'm not the young crowd this is aiming towards, but it's not obnoxious and offensive to the original story and plot line that was set before it, like the Ninja Turtles movie from 2014 was. Now let's get into that a little bit. Real quick, that movie trampled completely all over the actual history and story of the Turtles altogether. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Basically what they did to the characters would be like if you were to retell Star Wars today, completely delete Anakin Skywalker from existence, completely delete Obi-Wan Kenobi from the existence of the story, and just have Darth Vader just be there. That's what they did to Shredder, and that's what they did to Hamada Yoshi, basically, within that story. They deleted their characters altogether, pretty much. And then you add in all the stuff that they added on top of it to make April O'Neil, because they had Megan Fox playing her. They had to shove her in everywhere they could, to the point where it was just obnoxious in the creation of the Turtles and beyond. I don't know if you've seen the 2014 film, Rob.
I saw parts of it. It was on. I think I saw parts of it on television, but it really didn't go out of my way to think.
Right.
But Megan Fox probably had a contract where she had to get so much screen time, so that's why. And she was a big star at the time too. So,
well, regardless, they should have called the film April O'Neil with some turtles in it. And then the Turtles themselves, because that was the thing. When I saw the design of the Turtles, I'm like, what the ever-loving fuck is this? They look like Shreks on fucking steroids. I don't know what the hell they're trying to accomplish here, and it just didn't work dynamically overall. But the look of the Turtles was the least of the issues when I finally got to the film. Now, the second film was even more of an insult. Some fans see, oh, well, it has Krang and it has Bebop and Rocksteady. No, they turned Bebop and Rocksteady into a warthog and into a rhinoceros because fuck logic, okay? I don't know if you've seen this one either, but within the context of the film, Baxter Stockman flat out says that they changed into these creatures because that was their inner beast.
I'd heard about that, yeah.
And now, if you go back to the original cartoons, which is where Bebop and Rocksteady actually originated from, between the toys and the cartoons and stuff, they actually went to the zoo and captured the creatures so they didn't get into the logistics of it. Basically, the way they set it up in the old cartoons was anything you came in contact with last and then came in contact with the mutagen, that's what you transformed in. Kind of a easy way of...
Genetic engineering, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of an easy way of saying the DNA part. All you had to do in this film was have a vial of blood that said warthog blood and a vial of blood that said rhinoceros blood and shove that into the mix and nobody would have questioned it. That's just a small piece of the problems that are in this huge mess of films that have divided an entire fan base. There was one thing that the fans were unified before on, was that the Nickelodeon series wasn't that bad. But now they decided to just scrap that series and come up with this new series. Now I gotta tell you, just from the designs and the ideas and the things that they're changing alone have got me saying, what the fuck are you doing to these characters? Okay? And then for somebody to sit there and say that we need to get over it, fuck you. We are basically the ambassadors of these franchises. You cannot say fuck you to the old fans and not expect some kind of backlash in return. Look what happened to Ghostbusters. Look at what happened to Star Trek Discovery. It's going to happen again here. You had a lot of fans who were willing to stick up for you before, but you're going to lose a lot more now because you're changing and changing and changing and changing, and you're throwing something out that fans actually gave a shit about, which was the Nickelodeon series, into this now.
Look at what's happening currently with Star Wars too. I mean, look at what's happening with Star Trek. I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's we need new fans. I'm like, you don't need new. You do, yeah. You need new fans, but you need to
not
keep
at
the older
expense of the old ones.
You need to keep the older fans on the treadmill. I mean,
you got to listen to what they want too, and they will definitely be on board for certain changes as long as they make sense and they feel organic. DC is a perfect example of this. The reason why Superman worked for 75 years before Man of Steel was because he was pretty much perfect the way he was. The only things that needed to change were the things around him. You know?
Yeah.
There was a reason why Bryan Singer said, you know, the only way we're going to be able to make this work is if we kind of do what they did before and just update it, which is what he did with Superman Returns. Granted, how you feel about that film or not aside, never have I heard anybody say that, yeah, Brandon Routh sucked as Superman. They got that all fucking wrong. Have you ever heard anybody say that?
No.
About the movie? No. Okay, that's my point exactly. At least he understood the character. Sure, the story was stupid. There was some stuff in it that didn't make sense, and he was setting up a bigger story to happen later on that never happened. We get that. But the point is he understood that there was things about this character that made Superman Superman, and Richard Donner understood that, and the people came before that understood that. So he had to carry that torch and just kind of add to it, not deconstruct it, not take it apart and put it back together, missing 70 parts in the process. You know, there's a way you can do these things and update them and make them relevant, but not lose what they're about to begin with. Rob, please, just tell me now. You know how you can do this. Tell them it's 007. Go back and look at how they've advanced over the years. I've never actually gotten into the movies, but I know Rob can tell you. They know what they're doing. Even through their missteps, they learn through every mistake that this is how you keep updating a character. That the character doesn't change, the world changes around him.
Yes, and you can show, like I said, you can show him clash with that world too. I mean, that makes it more interesting.
Captain America.
Like I said, when something works, there's a reason why it works, because they got it right the first time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they haven't remade Back to the Future. Is because it's because, like I said, Robert Zemeckis says no. There's no reason to. We got it right the first time.
Or as Huey Lewis would sing, lightning never strikes twice.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, there's so many ways you can embrace the past and update something without deconstructing it and pushing away what it was originally. And that's what a lot of these creators are doing now, and they think it's just like you said, to be hip, to be cool, to be trendy, to be dark, to be this is what audiences want. They tell themselves this is what audiences want, and they listen to the bean counters, they listen to the experts. Yeah. There's a great interview actually with Frank Zappa. He's talking about, and we don't get to talk music, but this feeds into this discussion. He said about the music industry is a lot more conservative now than it was back in the 60s. He goes, you had the guys, the old guys with the cigars and their feet up on the desks. They would see something and goes, I don't know what this is, but hey, let's take a chance on it. Let's see if it sells. And they put it out there and it sells. Hell if I knew what happened, but it sold. All right, we need to do this again. Go find me a hippie.
So they find a hippie. The hippie comes in. He brings in the mail. He brings the coffee. He says, all right, he's a good kid. He's brought the coffee on time. We'll give him a job. Give him an A&R man. He's an A&R man. And they're the ones that start saying, no, no, no. The hippies start saying, no, no, no.
Right.
We can't do this. That's not what the audience wants. I know what the audience wants. And they are more conservative. They're, than the guys with the cigars, The hippie, eventually, he gets the job where he puts his feet up on the desk, and then he becomes the final arbiter of taste. And that's what's happening in the movie and film industry, too. You have the people who think that they were the audience once upon a time, and they're saying, no, 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 I know what the audience wants. And they're making all these stupid fucking decisions one after the other.
Right? And what makes it even worse is we live in a day and age now where they can actually get instant feedback on something, yet they always learn the wrong fucking lesson. Every time. Every time. Perfect example we keep bringing up is Wonder Woman. I didn't care for the film all that much. I don't think you've seen it yet, but regardless, you had a perfect situation where a character that was a strong female character for over 75 years had a hit film. Why? Because you pretty much stuck to what she was, and you didn't try to, get too crazy like you had with the last few films, and it worked for what it was. And she's an established, well done female character. Now, as opposed to going and trying to make the Ghostbusters characters all female, or somebody else all female, and this, that, and the other, and trying to make, like we said before, James Bond into a woman. You got tons and tons of characters that have worked forever. Work with those first before you start trying to fuck with shit that already works. Something like Ninja Turtles that has worked for 30 plus years now, and they decided to finally fuck with it even more. I'm not saying that, yes, it had Next Mutation and a few other bad moments within its past. Every franchise has. But for the most part, they've always stuck to the core elements of what made them what they are. Once they started fucking with them is when they started to become unsavory to a large part of the fan base, and that's what we're getting at.
Actually, there's this whole thing. Well, we have to make it different. Oh, well, it has to stand out. It has to be different. Well, you take a look at it. It stood out back then. It still stands out now.
The reason the Ninja Turtles worked was because they were so different to begin with. I'm not saying you can't change their looks a little bit or what. They've had several different looks in several different ways, but the characters and the stories have generally all been the same.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so...
Yeah, we beat this to death, but it's important. It's something I wanted to rant about. This is something we've stressed time and time and time again here on Minute's Edge. When people ask, what is the problem and what do they need to do to fix it? All you need to do to fix it is embrace the past while...
Yeah, figure out what made these characters work and do that.
And push them forward that way instead of trying to just deconstruct them and make them something they're not to begin with, because then what's the point? Make something new if you want to do that. Make the, insipid, crazy, flipping frogs instead of fucking with the turtles,
Exactly.
Because that's what they fucking look like.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you guys
think. Yeah.
So we've known about this Men in Black reboot, revival, whatever, spin-off, whatever they're calling it this week.
The only thing they don't call it is what it is, a crappy idea.
But we have some news. There's a name attached to it. Sony has tapped Sony has tapped Straight Outta Compton and Fate of the Furious director Gary Gray to direct the Men in Black spin-off. And this comes to us from Variety. The studio fast-tracked the project earlier this fall, setting Matt Holloway and Art Markham to pen the script and dating a May 17, 2019 release. Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, they are not going to be back in their roles, and it's meant to launch a new franchise with fresh talent.
Fresh talent. Another way of saying cheaper actors.
Sony has originally planned on combining Men in Black and 21 Jump Street franchises, but has since tabled that idea. You know what new talents means, don't you? It means all female cast.
Oh shit, no. That was a rumor for a while. Actually, don't joke about that.
I wouldn't mind seeing a few females of the MIB team. It wouldn't, but.
I always said that the dumb thing was when they decided to combine 21 Jump Street with Men in Black. They should have combined Men in Black with Ghostbusters. It made more sense.
It's the same idea, really.
Kinda, yeah. You got alien ghosts, so who are you gonna call? And I even made a logo, and it looks good. Ghostbusters in black, Yeah. Anyway,
I've never seen Straight Outta Compton, so like I said, I am not the target audience for that movie.
Right. I know you're not quite the rap fan out there, but it was one of the better, if not one of the best, musical biopics in a long, long, long time. But yeah, At this point, does anybody really care about Men in Black anymore, especially if Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones aren't involved?
The last one did well overseas. And
Right,
actually,
it did okay here, but it had Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in it as well.
yeah, Will Smith's still a huge star overseas. I remember, not to sound like one of those guys, I remember I was in Italy, actually, and there was a huge billboard with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, Men in Black 3, coming, Giovedì to Siete Seto, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
But like I said, who can they possibly get to be in this? I don't know.
Well, they're going to have to come up with either a good gimmick or a great cast or something different, because it's going to be compared to the original no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And without Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones, like we said, and if they don't connect it in some way to the original, either you're going to come off as just trying desperately to connect it to the first 3 films so you can try and sell it on the momentum of those, or B, you're going to totally revamp it and try something different, so you're just going to get lambasted by the fans unless they actually come up with something clever, which I'm not against, but I mean, yeah.
This is a tough sell. This is going to be a tough sell without Tommy Lee Jones and without Will Smith. Any way you cut it. That's
what I think anyway. Yeah. What do you guys think? Let us know. I mean, are you even interested in this if Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones aren't involved? I mean, who could you see in the film? Are you, is there some dream casting you'd love to see as a couple members of Men in Black? I don't know. I mean, really, it's... Yeah.
Knowing how things go, it's going to be Michael B. Jordan and Seth Rogen. I mean, they're in everything now, so it doesn't make a difference. All right, well, let us know what you think. Is that an
alien? I really have a feeling that a lot of this has to do with retaining rights. Yeah. How long has it been now? The clock is kind of ticking since the last Men in Black.
It's been 6 years. 6 years since the last
Men in Black. At least, yeah.
So May 2019, we'll put it around that 7-year window.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. But then again, with the sale of the studio, a lot of times these kind of properties, depending on who the original ownership is with, and we've talked about this in the past, and there's been talks of Sony coming up for sale and how Spider-Man would either revert back to Disney or if Disney's going to buy back the rights or what's going on there, and we'll get into all that in a different show, I'm sure. But
yeah,
it's just interesting to see if this is what it really is about, is them just trying to retain the rights here.
Yeah. All right, well, let us know what you think, guys. So, Tom, did you see the Han Solo trailer?
Well, I did see the teaser, which we figured we'd get on the Super Bowl, which didn't look that bad. Then they showed me more.
That's a good way to put it.
Oh, man.
It's like going out with this really hot girl, and then she opens her mouth, and then she just keeps talking.
Yeah.
And you're just like, baby, shut up. No, shut up. Just shut up, please.
And I'm sure there's plenty of women who have the same problem with men too, but still the point is this was it came off very fan filmish.
It's how much did they spend on this film? What's the budget for Han Solo? Is it over 200 million now with the reshoots, or?
I would imagine, I'd have to look, but I'm sure it's gotta be at this point maybe 250 even.
Yeah, well, they've nearly reshot the whole movie.
Alan Einrich, I can't say his fucking name, but it don't matter because I don't think anybody's going to be saying his name in about 5 years anyway.
Al. Just call him Al.
I don't know, Al. You may be good in other things, but you ain't no Han Solo. I can't see it.
Just like I said, he kind of looks like Han Solo. Then he talked, and then he had to open his mouth. Then it came time for his dialogue. Oh, then it just, okay, fine. We haven't seen any a whole lot of them, but from what I just heard, the dialogue he said sounded really stiff. It sounded really stiff and rigid, which is why they didn't show you a whole lot of it.
Well, and you can kind of deduce the story from what we see here, and it just kind of looks like what we predicted. The Woody Harrelson part, pretty much Han Solo 1.0. It just all felt very kind of weird and fake. I don't get how to explain how it felt. I mean, some of the visuals were kind of cool, don't get me wrong. Yeah. The atmosphere was kind of neat, and
I like Donald Glover. Like I like Donald Glover as Lando. Of course, when I saw Donald Glover, I said Troy. So, community fans will know what I mean. So,
and again, I hear the same thing from most people. They say is I would have rather seen a Lando movie or something else, because we're gonna have a hard time seeing Han Solo. I can see it already. Most people are. It's getting quite a bit of negative feedback.
Yeah, it looks. I'll give you this. It looks interesting. It looks interesting, but then, like I said, it just kept going, and you're just like, oh boy. Like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, you're like, I guess it when it starts. Oh, cool.
Well, and it looks like it's kind of following the story that you had brought up initially when we way back when about him, being part of the
being an officer in the
Empire and stuff like that, and you can pretty much figure he's going to end up saving Chewie at some point. We got a little bit of Chewie in there. We've seen Lando, and
winning the Millennium Falcon from Lando.
Yeah,
and then going into business for himself. Really?
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of It's gonna feel like a greatest hits album, I bet, once we get in there.
Yeah.
But the worst part is it's not gonna feel. Are you a Kiss fan?
I was, and that was actually one of the first concerts I saw was Kiss in '84.
Do you remember the album Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits?
Yeah.
Now you know what I'm talking about. Then that was an album where they went back and the current band members re-recorded all of Kiss's greatest hits, and
he goes, oh, stutter. No, it's strutter. Oh, wait. So they don't quite get it right, yeah.
Right, and so, well, it's close. Pink Floyd did the same thing, too. Yep. They re-recorded a bunch of after...
That used to be...
slight breakup.
That used to be a common thing, though. You used to buy, like, a CD or cassette at some on those bargain racks.
And then there's those, yeah.
It would be... but there would be, like, a current band member re-recorded all of the greatest hits because they couldn't get the rights to them. So
yeah, if you read in the fine print, it's new studio recordings by original artist, but doesn't tell you that it was Chubby Checker when he was 86. And come on, baby, let's do the what was the line?
Oh boy. Well, I don't know. Wow. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to win a lot of the goodwill back from The Last Jedi with this one, but
this movie's got to be really good. It's got to be really good because this kid ain't showing me nothing.
Yeah.
And he's got too many good actors around him. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do.
Maybe they're hoping... Usually when that happens, they don't have a lot of confidence in the star. They'll try to save it with casting. They'll put everything they got into casting and hope that the other actors will carry him. But I'm not sure. This is a story where the main character has to drive the plot. He really does. Right. So...
yeah, it's not called Han Solo's buddy. It's not called Chewie the movie. It's called Solo. So this kid is not going to sell me Solo on his own. Not in a million years, I don't think. I hope the movie's good. Don't get me wrong. I really have high hopes for the film. Han Solo is one of my favorite characters, but I haven't heard too many people have anything nice to say about it.
All right, well, we're going to have to wait. It's Memorial Day, though. Memorial Day, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too far. So at least we know it is coming. It's not getting pushed back.
Phrasing.
Here's your damn trailer, guys. I'm sure that's what Disney said, too, when they finally started it. But speaking of Disney and Star Wars, there was some more Star Wars news, was there not? I can't remember. Is Oprah working over there? Or?
You get a trilogy, and you get a trilogy, and you get a trilogy. Well, I'll admit, though, when I first read the headline, I said, oh, thank God, Rian Johnson's been fired. But it's not the case. There's going to be yet another Star Wars trilogy in addition to his trilogy. This comes to us from Deadline. Game of Thrones duo Benioff, I think it's Benioff, and Weiss to pilot new Star Wars trilogy.
He is now.
Yeah. As the ninth and final film in the original Star Wars series looms, Disney and Lucasfilm are stepping up big time to continue Hollywood's most iconic film franchise. They just unveiled that HBO Game of Thrones masterminds David Benioff, Benioff, I don't know, whatever the hell is
Benioff?
Dave. Just call him Dave. And DB Benioff and DB Weiss have been set to write and produce.
Stupidity is silent.
Okay, the two guys from Game of Thrones, Dave and DB, they're getting their own set of Star Wars trilogies. Okay, they're going to be separate from Rian Johnson's and not going to follow the Skywalker saga, which is going to be wrapped up here. But you're getting a little ahead of yourselves, guys. You're getting a little ahead of yourselves.
Let go, Rob.
I don't want to see another fucking Star Wars trilogy. Okay.
Yeah. They're starting to oversaturate this a little bit.
This is not it's not special anymore. We got a Star Wars movie in '99 after 16 years. That was a big deal because we hadn't gotten one. Now it's like it's like Wonder Bread. You're selling film as product now.
What flavor do you want this week? Yeah.
Oh my God! And Kathleen Kennedy's excited. I'm glad somebody is. Kathleen Kennedy said, David, this is what she said. David and Dan are some of the best storytellers working today. Their command of complex characters, depth of story, and richness of mythology will break new ground and boldly push Star Wars in new ways I find incredibly exciting. Which means we're going to... It's a bold new vision, which means they're probably going to have another Mary Sue like Rey be, Oh my God! If Kathleen Kennedy's excited, then that sends up a really huge red flag for me. Because, okay,
look,
the Force Awakens. I like the Force Awakens when it came out. Like, some people don't like it. Like, you know what? It's good enough. It's a serviceable. It's entertaining. I don't hate it.
I was looking at it as the beginning of something bigger, but again, I was let down by The Last Jedi, just like you were. I liked it a little more than you did, but it still wasn't a good movie. It has tons of flaws. We got that. But Star Wars isn't fucking Marvel. You can't be bringing out so many of these movies all the damn time, or like, it's just not going to be special anymore. You don't have 100 Luke Skywalkers to draw from. That's what Marvel is.
I'm gonna
know
ask,
what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question. When was the last time you remember having a can of Campbell's soup?
Well, I used cream of mushroom soup last week. I didn't really. I put it in something, but yeah.
But you kind of get the point I'm making, though, right? I mean, really, nobody. It's on your shelf all the time. Nobody really says, "Damn, that's some good soup,"
They're nothing special because they're all the same. They have been for the longest time.
That's what they're doing with Star Wars, and the fact that you're mining now Game of Thrones tells me again we're going to go back to that Frank Zappa interview. No. That's not what the audience wants. I know this is what the audience wants. No, this isn't what the audience wants. Not this audience. Oh, for God's sake.
What do you guys think about this?
Somebody tell me I'm wrong here. Please. Somebody tell me I'm off base. Somebody tell me I'm worrying over nothing. Somebody.
I don't know. I mean, I've compared The Last Jedi to Batman v Superman, and I think that's kind of becoming more and more of a reality as it feels like this Disney thing, it's starting to feel a lot like DC is what I was getting at. Oh, it's not working? Let's just throw more shit out there. Batgirl, Aquaman, fuck. Fix what you got first.
Yeah, before you start throwing, DC's solution to everything was just to throw more characters, throw everything at the audience, and the audience was like, this isn't good. No matter how much it's called McDonaldization, people. Okay, you're substituting quantity for quality. You're trying to convince the audience now that the more you give them of something, the better it's going to be. No, if you're getting 100 pounds of crap, it's still crap.
Well, and Disney should know this because they are under the same house as Marvel. Marvel is a fluke. Nothing that they do has ever been done before, nor has it ever been done the same way, or will it probably ever work again for anybody else. Yes.
And in 30 years, we're going to be saying nobody, Marvel was a phenomenon. It hasn't been repeated since, so you can't do this with Star Wars just by its very nature.
Right. Usually by the time you get this deep into a franchise like, say, Marvel or Star Wars or even Star Trek or Friday the 13th, you get to a point where it just isn't special anymore, to where they're struggling to make it fresh and new and exciting for the audience, and the audience just doesn't care anymore because they've seen it 100 million times. And like Rob said, you keep bringing us out Star Trek, it's going to become just like regular old soup. We've seen it a million times
Star
before.
Wars. I mean, Star Wars. So we're going to get some angry comments now. So,
but still.
Oh, yeah, that's the idea, yeah. Yeah, but like I said, it's going to, like I said, the cracker. Remember the Eddie Murphy analogy about the cracker, yeah. Soup and crackers. I can go for some soup now. So.
I think Rob's hungry. I think that's what it is.
Let us know what you guys think.
All right. So we got some sad news to report, isn't that right, Rob?
Yes, very sad. We have lost veteran actor John Mahoney. Now, if you don't recognize that name, he was a staple of television in the 80s and 90s, star of several movies. You know him best as Martin Crane, father of Frasier Crane on the long-running series Frasier. He died Sunday in Chicago after a short illness, according to his publicist Wendy Morris. Perry Gilpin, who played Roz Doyle on Frasier, she sent out a tweet. John singing at my wedding. She attached a picture. Watch Moonstruck, say anything and or Frasier or anything you can with him in it, and raise a glass to John. Remember him well. Very talented actor, very bright presence on screen. I mean, he was the dad in Say Anything.
That's where I remember him. Besides,
yes, he actually performed at the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. He was, like I said, Moonstruck. He was actually also in the movie with Ben Stiller, Reality Bites. I remember that. I was like, oh no way, yeah, he's in that. The one good thing in this terrible turd of a movie. So, but sadly, and 77 years old, not very old these days by today's standards. So John Mahoney, like I said, bright talent. He will be missed. But we never like to bring you down. We never like to end the show on a down note.
I'm already too much of a downer.
Yes. So why don't we bring things back up, and why don't we give some birthday shout-outs, some birthdays for the last couple days. For February 5th, 2018, actress Jennifer Jason Leigh. Now, if you don't recognize that name, she was in The Hateful Eight. She was also in several other things. She was a single white female. She was in Twin Peaks. She was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
Yes, she turns 56 today, looking lovely as ever. Laura Linney from The Big C. She was born on this day, on February 5th, 1964. Also born is actually Christopher Guest from This Is Spinal Tap. And
Christopher Guest.
Saturday Night Live, Christopher Guest.
Husband to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes. Born on February 5th, 1948. 70 years old. Chris Park.
We love Spinal Tap.
We absolutely, we do. You know what? Here's an idea. Live commentary on Spinal Tap.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, people have been asking us for commentaries. That's something we might look into. Definitely.
Yes. Actually, a couple more birthdays that are not on, that I didn't initially plan on. Chris Parnell, you know him from SNL. You know him from Archer. And you know him from several other things. He was born on February 5th, 1967 in Memphis, Tennessee. Tim Meadows, the ladies' man. Tim Meadows.
A lot of SNL birthdays. Huh?
Lots of SNL birthdays. He was born on February 5th, 1961, Highland Park, Michigan.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Tim Meadows the longest running cast member in SNL?
I believe it, right, yes. And I keep saying, it reminds me of that joke from Rick and Morty. He goes, and returning for his 25th season, Bobby Moynihan. Interesting fun fact, Moynihan and Piece of Toast hate each other. They have some real creative differences. So anyway, moving right along, for February 6th, actor Dane DeHaan. You know him as the Valerian guy.
Or the really bad goblin.
Really bad goblin. He turns... How old is he? He was born this day in...
He's like 6, ain't he?
He's never going to get old. This kid's got the fountain of youth in his backyard. He's keeping it all to himself. He was born February 6, 1986. Wow. Alice, the lovely Alice Eve. You know her as Dr. Carol Marcus from Star Trek. Born February 6, 1982. Happy 36th birthday. And if you go to her IMDb page, you will see some of the photos of her on Tonight Show. Giggity. So... Who else was born on this day? Kind of the legendary. A legend was born on February 6th. George Herman Babe Ruth. Now, if you're saying, what does he have to do with movies? He was actually in Pride of the Yankees playing himself.
That's right.
Babe
There's
Ruth.
been God knows how many variations of him in movies.
Yes. Anyways, actually, he was in a couple movies himself, actually.
Yeah.
Born February 6, 1895, Baltimore, Maryland. So, the Babe, the Bambino, was born on February 6th. Don't you forget that. Every team should retire the number 3 for what he did for baseball. He actually saved the game, actually, after the Black Sox scandal. So, anyway, for February 7th, 2018, comedian Chris Rock turns 52. Ashton Kutcher turns 39. Basketball player Steve Nash turns 43. Isaiah Thomas, basketball player, turns 28. Garth Brooks turns 55.
Blame it all on my roots. I got shit on my boots. Oh, sorry.
Reminds me of the joke. It says Garth Brooks' manager calls him up and says, "Hey Garth, how's the new album coming?" He goes, "Terrible. I got my truck fixed. My wife moved back. I quit drinking. My dog came home."
Oh shit! What's sad is he's a much better rock singer than he is a country artist, but he never got taken seriously when he tried to do that whole
That Chris Gaines thing.
Yeah, and because if you listen to the album Kiss My Ass, which is a tribute to Kiss, he does a kick-ass version of Hard Luck Woman. You can't even tell it's him. But anyway,
James Spader, Ultron, guy from the Blacklist, he turns 57. Now, okay, this picture they have here of him is with a full head of hair. He's really bald, isn't he?
he might shave now. I don't know if he is for real or not, to be honest with you.
Well, anyway, James Spader, he turns...
I know he always had big, waffy blonde hair back in the 80s, though, and 90s.
Well, anyway, he turns 57, and the rest of the notable birthdays are YouTube stars, and nobody cares. So, so happy birthday. If you're celebrating your birthday, well, I hope you have a happy one. And if you are out there, you want to celebrate with us, there's no better way to celebrate this than clicking that subscribe button, is there?
It doesn't matter what the celebration is. You don't even need a reason.
You don't even need a reason. Just click that subscribe button and click that bell icon. And if you really like the show, celebrate the show with us by supporting us through Patreon. Patreon supporters, please support. Patreon supporters will get all kinds of bonuses. You'll get early access to mini documentaries. You'll get uncut audio. You'll get outtakes, bloopers. You'll get behind the edge lost episodes. And like I said, we've actually restructured the Patreon tiers, hopefully making it easier for you guys to support us through Patreon. And as I've said, we don't take your support and just put it in our pockets. I am recording on a brand new Blue Yeti mic, which I acquired through the help of your support through Patreon, and I hope that is making it sound better. But that's what we do. We take your support and we put it back into the show, and we make the show better for you by investing in things like software, mics, online storage, better internet connections, whatever. Whatever, hookers.
We gotta make
hookers, booze. Make the show better? Believe me, it helps.
I wish we can't afford that. We don't have enough money yet. Now, if we get more patrons, we could.
Yes, you can. I can get hooked on booze, and then you can kick the habit, go to Betty Ford, and you can hear me write the tell-all biography.
Yep.
So once again, if you're out there, as always, if you don't have the means to support the show through Patreon, please click subscribe and click the bell icon, share with your friends, because we cannot do this without you, as I always say. So one more time, I am Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo.
There's one problem. Ernest Borgnine is dead, so who's going to play you in your biopic?
Mike Myers.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. There you go. No, I'm Tom Connors. I had to pick on Rob.
That's fine. See, bonus material. And we will catch you next time.